All right, guys. Good luck.
Thanks, Scott. Welcome, families. Thank you so much for joining us. The attendees are rolling in. Thank you again so much. If you're here for our webinar, Showing Up Matters attendance webinar, you are in the right place. We are so happy to have all of you join us this evening. So welcome everyone. Attendees are rolling in. We appreciate all of you here today. And let me see. Oh, so that must be Miss Villalobos logging in as yours. So let me see if I could switch her name over. Let me rename. Villalobos. Oh, and then I see myself again. Not sure. No worries. All right. Good evening, families. We still have attendees rolling in. If you're here for our Showing Up Matters attendance webinar, you are definitely in the right place. So we're just giving a few more minutes as families are still logging in right now. We see our attendees numbers increasing. So again, welcome everyone. Again, if you're here for our Showing Up Matters attendance webinar, you are definitely in the right place. We'll give about another minute as we are still seeing attendees roll into this webinar. We appreciate you giving your time this evening. And we are still, okay. All right. Looks like our attendees number have stabilized. All right. Good evening, MUSD families. My name is Yvonne Sugimura, and I am the coordinator of student services. One of the areas that I support in is attendance here in Milpitas Unified School District. We're so excited to have all of you here tonight for our webinar with District Attorney Alicia Shane. Before we pass it over to her, we just wanted to let you know that tonight we do have our community liaisons available. They're not going to translate the presentation, but if you have a question and you would like to share it in either Spanish or Vietnamese, we ask that you use the icon at the bottom of your Zoom webinar dashboard and raise your hand. At that point, I will able to unmute you and you can ask your question. Or you're also able to use the chat feature to then send questions specifically to all of us, and then we could review and respond as well. So hopefully all that was heard, but maybe Min An, can I have you translate all that in Vietnamese, and then I'll have Raquel do it in Spanish, and then we will get going.
Kính chào quý vị. Trong khi chúng tôi trình bày thì quý vị muốn có câu hỏi hay là muốn có thắc mắc gì thì có thể, một là ở dưới cái màn hình có cái icon nó giơ tay lên, hoặc là quý vị có thể đánh câu hỏi bằng tiếng Việt vào trong cái chat thì chúng tôi sẽ dịch lại ra tiếng Anh và sẽ trả lời cho quý vị.
Thank you, Ms. Villalobos.
Okay. Buenas noches. Vamos a empezar la conferencia y si usted tiene alguna pregunta puede ponerla en el chat. No necesariamente se va a traducir la junta, pero si usted tiene una pregunta, por favor ponga su pregunta en el chat y también puede poner preguntas después para que se revisen y se respondan. Gracias.
Okay, thank you. So I would like to introduce everyone tonight to District Attorney Alicia Shane.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Alicia Shane. I'm the Deputy District Attorney in Santa Clara County, who's in charge of our truancy and chronic absenteeism program. So that means I'm in court, but I also work really closely with our schools and districts, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. I am going to share my screen so then I can begin my presentation. Okay. Okay. So I just want to thank you all so much for being here tonight. The fact that you are taking time out of your Monday evening, and evenings we know are a really special time. They're a really busy time. You only have so many hours in the day at home with your families. So we really appreciate that you have taken some of that time to come to this and learn more about ways that you can help your child succeed at school. I don't know any of you. I haven't met you, but here's what I do know, even though I haven't met you. As your child's parent or your child's guardian, I know that you, more than anyone else on the planet, wants what's best for your kids. And I know it's very likely that from the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed at night, the things you're doing day in and day out are for the betterment of your children. Certainly, you're here tonight for the betterment of your children. And, I want to just take a minute to ask all of you to picture in your minds what you want your child's life to look like in the future when he or she, when they are all grown up. What's that life that you're working so hard to give to your child, or at least to set your child up for? I know for myself and for most of us, the things that we picture are a steady job that pays the bills and provides our child a comfortable life and a, not stressful life. Work maybe that they find meaningful. Want them to live in a place that is safe. Want them to be able to have a family and support a family if that's what they want to do. All of those things that are really the bedrocks of what we picture for our kids, that all starts with the education that they're getting right now. What your kids are working on in school every single year are the stepping stones that are leading them to that future, that bright future that you really want them to have. So I'll talk really briefly about the law around attendance. There is a law that says children age 6 through 18 must be in school full time. And the law goes on to say that it's the parents' responsibility to make sure those kids are in school all time, full time. And full time means every day, and full time also means on time. So why is it that there's a law around attendance, right? That our legislature decided this is so important. We need to have a law that says it's mandatory for children to be in school on time. The reason is attendance is the #1 school success factor. More than test scores, attendance predicts a child graduating, okay? So they took, there was a study where they had kids, they were in the same socioeconomic strata, they controlled for all of these other confounding variables, and they compared their high school graduation rates. And the biggest predictor of whether a child graduated high school was their attendance. Even when one of them maybe was scoring higher on tests, but not attending, the higher scorer was less likely to graduate from high school. So I really think this is maybe surprising, but certainly great news for parents, right? What that means is the #1 school success factor is really something that's largely in your control and in your child's control. Just being at school every day means they check the box on the most important factor that's going to get them to graduation and to the next step. We know that education and earnings are tied to one another. Over their lifetime, a person who has graduated from college will comparatively make $1 million more over their lifetime than will a person who has not graduated from college. And we know the more education a child has, the brighter that child's future. The better their education, the richer their education, the more opportunities and options there are for them in their future. We know, of course, that earnings and unemployment rates are also related to the years of school that a person gets, whether they receive their high school diploma, if they then go on to get, let's say, their associate's degree, perhaps their bachelor's degree, with each degree or diploma that they're receiving, their earnings go up and the likelihood that they will experience unemployment goes down, right? This is something I think we all kind of understand intuitively, but to see it visually, I think really helps, especially if I've got some parents on here of high schoolers, you know, to be able to show them, hey, look at, this is your future, right? Look at what you want to be able to afford someday, the phone you want to have, the car you want to drive, clothes you want to buy. All of that is going to be very closely tied with you attending school, getting that diploma, and going on to the next step. We also know, unfortunately, that there are some bad outcomes that are tied to truancy, right? So truancy is when a student is not in school, when they aren't attending every day on time, when they have missed a certain number of days unexcused. And unfortunately, we know that truancy is not only tied to not graduating, right? And then those lower earnings perhaps in their future, but it's also tied to these unexpected things like poor health, things like stroke, heart disease, diabetes, depression, and substance abuse in adults are all more likely when the child has been truant, when they have had too many absences as children. I know for me, that was something that was surprising when I began doing this work. Yes, of course, it was intuitive to me that if a child is missing too much school, that will affect their future education, which may, of course, affect their future job opportunities. That was like a linear line to me. But I was quite surprised to learn that it had all of these other correlations with negative life outcomes that had nothing, at least on its face, to do with education. It's also so important that your children are attending on time every day, because that is a habit that they are learning that is going to be with them for their lives, right? Going to school every day teaches our children to get up on time, to then show up to wherever we're expected to be on time, and to do that every single day. And those are really important habits. I really think of it as a muscle that they are building, and you are helping them build every time you get them to school on time. And every time you're telling them, this is a priority. You have to get up on time. We have to get out of the door on time. We can't be late for school. You're helping them build that muscle. Most of us have had jobs or have jobs where there are some days that we just don't want to show up, right? I have this like silly meme here of Kanye West, but we've all felt that way. Monday rolls around and we just don't want to go. But because we have a muscle that we've spent a lifetime building, we can rely on that habit, on that muscle, to get us up, get us out the door, and get us showing up to where we're expected to be. And right now, this is the time for your child to build either the habit of getting up and showing up anyway, or the habit of regularly being late or regularly skipping a day. We know also that unfortunately, when our kids aren't in school, it can have some negative impacts on them. When our kids in elementary or K through 8 aren't in school, they're missing out on the basics of what they're learning. And all of our kids, whether they are in K through 8 or high school, when they're missing too much school, inevitably, they're likely to get lower grades. And then those lower grades will affect their self-esteem. Our younger aged kids in elementary and middle school are missing out on the social aspects of school. That's really where they see their friends, right? They're not old enough yet to go to parties on the weekend or anything like that. So when they're missing a lot of school, they're missing time to connect with their classmates and to make new friends and to really feel like they're part of that school climate. And all of our children, kindergarten through 12th grade, really need normalcy now more than ever. we're all of us coming off of this global pandemic where for 2.5 years, nothing was normal, right? And everything seemed possible. And for some of our kids, frighteningly so. So what they need now more than ever is stability and consistency and routine. And that gives them back that sense of security. Unfortunately, truancy is also tied with future potential involvement with the criminal justice system, both as somebody who may be arrested and actually as someone who might be the victim of a crime. For our high school students, what often happens is when they are not at school and they have hours to fill where they should be at school, they fill that time with things that are problematic and dangerous and sometimes illegal. So one really important thing to do if your family is at all struggling with absences is to figure out why that is. If your child isn't getting enough sleep, maybe that's something that's making going to school on time every day difficult. School-age children need 10 to 12 hours of sleep a night. That's a lot of sleep. If we count back what time your kids need to get up in the morning to get dressed, maybe take a shower, eat breakfast, get in the car or in the bus on time to arrive to school, and you subtract even just the lower number of 10 hours, chances are they have to go to bed pretty early. That's a lot of sleep, but that's what the American Association of Pediatricians tells us they need. So, if at all your family is struggling with this at some point during the school year, don't worry. You, the parent, have such a powerful role in this. And the first thing you're going to do is talk to your child and do some troubleshooting and figure out what's the issue here. Maybe your child might need some academic help at some point. Maybe they're experiencing social problems. If your family is in a position where you are struggling, even with things unrelated to education, if you have an unstable living situation or a lack of transportation or anything like that, access to food, those are all things that you could ask for assistance from your district about, and they will be able to assist you and connect you with community resources. And of course, scheduling vacations on your school's calendar is really important. We also want to flag for parents' anxiety. We know, as I'm sure you've heard, post-COVID, kids are really experiencing an increase in anxiety and depression. And sometimes that might show up like a headache or a stomach ache. But pay really close attention to those headaches and stomach aches because they're not always signs that your child is physically ill, especially if they keep showing up. They might be signs that your child is experiencing anxiety. And again, that's something that your school has resources for and your district has resources for. And we know that many of our children at some point will experience. We can help them with the tools so that they can learn how to manage that. I spoke at the start about how important attendance is and how it is the #1 school success factor. And I think most parents appreciate that. Most parents get that attending school is really important. But what we actually know, research has showed us not a lot of parents, including myself before I started this work, understood was that just missing 2 days a month will mean that student is chronically absent. And if your child is chronically absent, that means they will have a less meaningful academic year. In other words, they will fall behind academically. And especially in Santa Clara County, where I think our families are very, very busy. And we have usually all of the adults in the home working and juggling a lot. It's easy to kind of not realize that, oh, my child has missed 2 days every month, either sickness or an appointment or whatever the case might be. So as a really proactive step at the beginning of the year, it's a great habit to get into to keep a calendar, whether it's a digital calendar or a paper calendar, where you mark any day that your child has missed. And that way you keep track of it and it doesn't surprise you that, oh no, my child has been missing too much school. Instead, you will see that, you'll keep track of it yourself, and you'll make sure that your child doesn't have too many absences and doesn't academically fall behind. I want to show you this video here, and I think this is really helpful for high schoolers. And again, if you either have a high schooler who's sitting with you tonight, or you might be talking to your child later on about how their education right now in high school is so important, you can play them this video.
My mother passed in 2003 in my freshman year. But she always told me, I don't care what happens. I don't care if you turn out to be a great athlete or whatever, but you need to make sure you get your college degree. Sometimes I call the house just to hear her voice.
Hi, you've reached the Fitzgerald. Leave a message after the beep.
Hey Mom, this is Larry. I just want to let you know that I fulfilled the promise that you held me to. I wouldn't be able to do it without your love and support and all the values you taught me and Marcus growing up. There's still things that I hold near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to teach it to my boys as well. Love you.
So, really motivate your high schooler. Ask them, what is their drive? What is the thing that they want to achieve? For him, it really seemed like, he went to postgraduate school for his mom, and she was his motivation. But your children will have their own motivations, and giving them the skill of, name for yourself what that motivation is, and now teach them how to keep that in the forefront of their mind, how to use a visualization or a goal as a way to really motivate them and keep them on track. Similarly, another message we also often share with our high school students is really about what a privilege education is. Of course, our high school students might not have the context to understand that in the United States, yes, everyone gets this free education. And in fact, what's not just offered to you, we tell you it's mandatory. Kids have to go to school. And in other countries, there is not that option. It's not only not offered, it's not only not free, but it may be prohibited for some people in those countries. And that there are young people, your high schoolers' age, who are willing to literally risk their lives to get their education, because they understand that their education is the thing that no one can take away from them, right? Somebody might be able to take your house. Somebody might be able to take your job. I've even heard somebody say before, even your life can be taken from you, but no one can take your education. And I thought that was a really powerful way of explaining to our young people how important having that for themselves is. I have another video here that I think is really powerful for us adults, but also for young people in high school. Oh, I don't know why that didn't play. Okay. So as I said, really now is the time to create good habits around your child's attendance. That starts with setting a good bedtime, making sure there's good sleep hygiene around your child's bedtime. So sleep hygiene means some amount of time, let's call it 30 minutes before bedtime, all of the screens go away. So the phone goes away, the tablet goes away, and we all, adults and kids, give our brains that time period to kind of wind down. We know the blue light from our phones keeps us awake. They were designed to keep us awake and to keep us continually scrolling. So help your child by teaching them, hey, this is what sleep hygiene is, and everyone in the family is going to do this. And of course, be in the habit of regularly communicating with your child's teachers. Reach out to the school if you ever need any help. The more your child is involved with school activities, the more positive school will be for them. The more attending school will be really second nature. I think another proactive step that parents can take to ensure that they are, in fact, checking that biggest box for school success, which is attendance, is to create a help bank for your family. So a help bank is a list of people that you can literally call, you can count on when the inevitable bumps come up in the road, right? So when your car is not working, or you were called into work very earlier than usual that morning, and you need some help, you need someone else, let's say, to take your child to school or pick your child up from school, have a list of people that you've already talked to about those inevitabilities and ask them, hey, if I'm ever in a bind, would you mind taking my child to school? And you can even offer, I'm happy to do the same for you. It could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, or it could be the parent of one of your child's friends. But this way, when life throws us the curveballs, it always will, you won't be kind of caught off balance, and instead you'll have a plan for what to do. And of course, make sure as you're scheduling your vacations right now, if you're looking at going someplace over winter break or in the spring, that you are planning those vacations according to your school's calendar. We have school days, 180 days of the school year, and we have non-school days. I think somebody said it was like 185 days of the year. So you have more non-school days than you do school days. So make sure that vacation is on the 185 and not on the 180 that your child is going to be in school. I also want to play you this video about another resource that we have. If at any point you feel like you could use some additional help with, particularly if you're the parent of a high school student and you are struggling with getting the behavior from your child that you're used to getting or that you would expect to get, if you're just feeling sort of alone in the incredibly difficult job that is parenting, we have a really great class. So I want to give you some information on that class.
Parent Project is a program that was brought over to the District Attorney's Office in 2008. It's a program about teaching parents how to change the behavior of their kids. We give them the tools, we give them strategies, we just give them different skills in order to change that behavior of kids that are either out of control, kids that don't want to go to school, truant children. It's not only about helping the children, it's also about helping parents because they're on the same page. And a lot of parents will come back to us and say, this helped my marriage. It also helped me with my family, my kids.
It's not teaching them how to change their children so much as it is changing them as parents. And they start reflecting and they start meeting all the other parents and hearing about some of the issues they're dealing with.
For me and my wife, it was just an unbelievable change from night to day. We just really learned the tools from the parent project to, really utilize them and to help our daughter go in the right direction.
And I think also just the idea that we're with other people that are going through the same thing, we don't have that guilt or that shame or that embarrassment about it. I'm able to talk to other people about it, not just our group, which makes me a better parent because the stress is relieved and it makes it much easier to then talk to our daughter and make sure she's doing what she needs to do.
If we can empower the parents, teach them how to solve these problems themselves, then the police department doesn't have to. The child will have better behavior, which rolls over into the schools. If they're better behaved in the schools, then they're going to be better students. They're going to get better grades, which makes them a more educated public for the community in the future.
So that class, if anyone is ever interested in taking it, it actually now is 10 weeks, so it's a little bit shorter, and they offer it virtually. So just how we're doing tonight, you could take that class. It's one night a week for 10 weeks. And what we have heard from every single parent who's graduated that program, and we've had probably close to 10,000 parents now graduate from Parent Project, what we've heard from every single one of them is what a profound impact, positive impact it had on their relationship with their child, on their family as a whole, even sometimes on their marriage. We really we recognize, as I said before, that parenting is the hardest job that anyone will do. And it's a job that changes constantly and that there's no manual for. So this class is really to give you kind of a manual that we all wish we could have gotten at the time that we had kids, and also to give you some support of other parents who are raising kids your own age in the time of technology, and in the environment that everyone is raising kids right now. So again, for parents out there of our high school students, we just encourage you to really think critically with your high schooler and encourage them to think critically about attending school and about why they're attending school and what they want to get out of it and what they want for their life and what they want their future to look like in 5 years, and really empower them. You can give them the facts that I've shared with you tonight to empower them with information so that they can make good decisions about their attendance this year. Okay, I ended a little bit early, but we've got time for question and answer. So I will stop sharing and we can do Q&A.
Yeah, so families, thank you so much, DA Shane. We do have a raise hand, so let me open up our attendees. Last name Chang, I'm going to unmute you now.
Can you hear me? Chen
Yes,
Huan?
we can. Yes.
Okay. I have a question because I like your slides. Your slides mentioned twice about the vacation planning. Okay, so we do have the problem now is we try to plan our vacations and especially back to our home country and in Asia. And I have 4 kids, right? So we don't understand why the school district consider the vacation plan as a truancy, because we already notified the school, this is our plan, and we're not intentionally to take the kids out of the class. We're just taking them home to visit their grandparents. So is there any way that, okay, I know we need to probably plan the vacation out of school days, but as you can probably understand, within the school day, travel expense is half of the in the summer vacation or winter vacations. So for school, for family of 6, that's probably more than $6,000 differences. Okay, and so here my question: if we make the plan, why the days they out of school still considered as truancy?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Chang, and I really appreciate that question. I also have 4 kids, so I understand how expensive vacations are in general and travel is, and especially for a large family. And you're talking about international travel, which of course raises the bar. So I want to answer the specific question you asked, and I want to give you some more context. So first I'll answer the specific question you asked, and you asked, why does it count as a truancy if you have told the school ahead of time that your children are going to be out of school because they are traveling?
Correct.
The law actually has specific reasons that a student may be out of school and have it count as an excused absence. So it enumerates what those instances are. And if the reason the student is out of school falls outside of those enumerated excused absences, then it may be counted instead as an unexcused absence. And unexcused absences, if they accrue under California law, 3 of them, that's now when your child is truant, that's when that term comes in, or 6 of them, now the child is habitually truant, that's when that term comes in. So really it is a matter of law and the specific enumerated reasons that are covered as an excused absence. So that's the answer to that very pinpointed question. But I do want to speak more generally to the context, right? And the reason that that law exists. and the reason why there are only these enumerated circumstances in which a child's absence will be excused. And that is because the legislature has recognized that even if your child's absence were excused, they are still missing out on learning and education. That information I gave you about chronic absence could be excused absences. So your child could miss 2 days excused every month and still be chronically absent. And chronic absence still means that the child will have a less meaningful academic year. In other words, whether the absence is excused or unexcused, the child bears the same consequences for missing out on that instruction time. So we really, of course, I understand why parents would be concerned with whether an absent is excused or unexcused, and you should follow your school's policies to clear absences and have them count as excused if you can. But I don't want to miss the forest for the trees. And it's still important to recognize that all absences have an impact on students. Ms. Sugimura, I started this nice presentation under the natural light of the day, and I have lost that light, and I noticed I am now a floating face. So if you'll just give me one moment, I'm going to turn on the light in my room so that everyone can see me.
Yes, of course. We have another question, so we'll just give a second, and then the next question hand raised is last name Nakondi, first name Naju Deswa. So when DA Shane comes back, perfect. We'll go ahead and unmute you.
Hi, hello. So,
Hi.
I mean, in extension to the previous question, right? When you say about excused absence, I know maybe this may not be the right platform to discuss about ISP, right? The recent changes in the ISP, especially, is impacting the parents, like we need to go to Asia or somewhere else, right? Because not every important occasions fall on summer for us. So we would like to know when the policy has been changed or this has been updated. Was there any communication officially to parents? And we have been trying to reach the concerned office or something regarding what made these changes and how can we work with the district to make sure that the kids are not impacted because of this, right? So can you show us, I mean, let us know like what can we do from here, at least for the next school year? This would be very helpful to us because this comes with a lot of other dependents, like we being on a H-1B in a home country, we are not getting a slots to get our visa being stamped and all, right? So we already going with multiple challenges regarding this.
So Shane, I could speak to this. So for our families, for the 23-24 school year, we did have an update to our board regulation 6158 regarding our short-term independent study program. So short-term independent study program can be requested by families with your school administrator for a minimum of 3 days, no more than 14 days. A change to our board regulation that went into effect this year was that a short-term ISP request cannot be attached to breaks 5 days or more. So at that time, the change has occurred for this year. We have heard feedback from families during our open public comment sessions during our school board meetings. People have shared their feedback with school administrators and directly with myself. So I have been tasked this year with collecting data and presenting it to the board for consideration about next steps in terms of moving forward. But in terms of this current school year, our board regulation with that change stands.
Thank you. At least, yeah, sure. I mean, that would be helpful if we can have some changes for the next school year, or please consider our request. That would be very helpful.
Yes. And so I've had multiple conversations with different families. They've given me actually good feedback about sending out surveys and collecting more feedback from families. So you'll be seeing that from me throughout this year.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And those were the two hands that we had. Checking in our Q&A box. One request, Ms. Shane, was if we Are you able to share the slide deck with me so I could send it out to the families who officially registered for the webinar?
I can share the slide deck with you, and then maybe I can individually get the videos to you.
Okay, great. And then the other request was a direct way that we could share with families if they're interested, how they could sign up for the parent workshops.
Yes, so I can get you, I can tell you right now, actually, if you'd like me to look up the phone number.
Oh, so families should call directly? We could put that into the chat for families.
For Parent Project, yes. And let me get you the phone
I think
number.
you're able to actually drop it into the chat for everyone.
I will put it in there.
Perfect. All right. Mr. Chiang, your hand is still up. I just want to make sure. Did you have
the other questions? Yes.
Oh, yes. Okay. Go ahead.
Because I didn't know the truancy is a law in California. I want to know the consequences because now we already have the vacation plan, and we also apply for the ISP, and which is rejected by the school, and for the reason because is before and after the vacation. So what's the consequences if the school put the kids as truancy and over the limit in the California law?
Ms. Sugimura, I'm assuming we would like me to answer that?
Yeah, you can. If anything pertains specifically to the school district, I could respond.
Okay, so let me just, I'm going to quickly finish what I was doing with the chat and give everybody the information. It's a phone number and an email address there if you're interested in the Parent Project. And that Parent Project, they have actually two different classes. So they have a class for parents of younger students. So if you have a child who is anywhere from like pre-K to 4th grade, they have a class called Loving Solutions. And that's similarly designed to give parents tools and strategies around parenting of younger kids. And then the regular Parent Project Senior is for middle school, for parents of middle schoolers or high schoolers. So sir, to answer your question about the consequences, if you have a child who is in kindergarten through 8th grade and they are habitually truant, so that means they've had at least 6 truancies, and a truancy is either a day that they have missed unexcused or a tardy of 30 minutes or more that was unexcused. And your child's attendance does not improve, then the district may refer that case to me, in which case I may prosecute the parent of that child in court. Now, but under the law, the case can be prosecuted 2 ways, either as an infraction, and that's like when you get a speeding ticket, or as a misdemeanor. In Santa Clara County, we elect to prosecute them as infractions, which would mean that anyone who's charged with that crime could hire an attorney if they wanted to, but no attorney would be granted as a matter of right for free by the court. And at that point, the parent would need to come to court for their first hearing, which is called an arraignment, and decide how they want to proceed in their case. Our goal, though, I think I can certainly speak for the DA's office, and I really believe I can speak for your school district when I say this. Our goal is that no one get to that point where I've had to file a case on a parent. We really want to resolve any attendance issues at the school level or at most at the district level, to make sure, most importantly, that your child's academics aren't being impacted by their number of absences, and to avoid becoming involved in the court system.
Thank you. How about the over the grade 8? Because you say it was 0 grade kindergarten to 8. How about over in the high school year?
So if a child is in high school and they are also habitually truant, then things can go one of 2 different paths. They may be required, along with their parent, to come to the district attorney's office and take part in a series of hearings with the district attorney about that student's truancy and about the parents' involvement in it. If from those hearings, it appears that the absences are due to the parent and the parent's choices, then the parent may be prosecuted and may be in court, as I've previously described.
Okay, thank you. And the other question may be to the school district, right? So I didn't know the ISP program was changed this semester because we didn't know that until we made the connection with the school for the vacation plan. And unfortunately, we bought the ticket already, and we want to bring them home to see the grandparents after the pandemic. Especially in pandemic, right? Since we go on these virtual classes often, and we see the kids have the capability of independent study by themselves with very little help from the parents. So why don't we just open up this ISP program more freely to maybe make all the families freely go somewhere if they need to. I mean, we won't abuse it, but when we need to.
And as shared prior, that we are again collecting feedback for families. The change is going to stay for this year. In terms of short-term ISP, I believe, DA Shane, it's Ed Code. That is set by California Ed Code in terms of 3 to 14 days. But when it comes to specific parameters, each school district can set their regulation around it. And so that was a regulation that Milpitas moved forward with for this school year. But it does not mean that it cannot be changed. Hence, again, I'm tasked this year with collecting feedback from families in regards to bringing the information back to our school board to see if an adjustment should be made moving forward.
Thank you.
We have another hand up. Makara, Jyoti Sanghishetty. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you now.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so I was hearing through that feedback would be collected again for the next school year also.
Mm-hmm.
So when do we expect any notification to be sent for this kind of feedback from parents that we can like send in our feedback for the next year?
So my goal is to do one before winter break, so before December. And the way I communicate with families is going to be via Parent Square. And so you'll be seeing the message coming directly from my account. So it'll come from Yvonne Sugimura at yusugimura@musd.org. And then another one later in winter, so January, February. My task is to bring this information to the school board in March.
Okay. Yeah, because with this kind of a policy in place right now, it's quite difficult when we have to like do overseas travel due to emergency situations in our hometown country and stuff. So this is really giving a little bit inconvenience at the moment when we want to do something due to emergencies.
I definitely would recommend that if something comes up for each family, that you connect directly with your school principal or assistant principal, and then they can also further assist any inquiries.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Of course. We have another hand up, Manish Khandawal. Hi.
Yeah, hey, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yeah, so if I understood correctly regarding the absence rule, so 14 is calendar days or 14 working days?
Short-term ISP is minimum 3, maximum 14 school days.
Okay, so assume an example, on the 15th day, a school break is starting for a whole week. So if I got it correct, those can't be clubbed, like 15th day should be a school day. Or is it allowed?
It cannot be attached to school breaks 5 or more days. So for example, this year, Thanksgiving break starts, we have a full week off. And so your short-term ISP contract cannot be the Friday prior to that Thanksgiving break, and then 14 days back.
So maybe I'll take example in days itself. So suppose we go off on first day, and I assume like there is no Saturday, Sunday, all are school days. So if we take off from first, so we can have till 14th, and 15th we should join school as per the ISP, right?
Yes.
Now assume on 15th it's not a school day, but from 15th the school is going off for a week. So are we allowed to club or not?
No, because it cannot be attached to school breaks 5 or more days.
But like school would be off only for 5 days a week, right?
Yes.
So are we allowed in that case or not?
So for example, you would not be able to have it attached to Thanksgiving break or spring break or February break or our 2.5 week winter break.
But like February break and all those would be 5 days only, right? A week only.
It can't be attached to a 5-day break.
You said cannot, right?
It cannot be attached.
Okay, and any good reason for this philosophy? Because like it would help, like I know everyone is concerned about this question only, so it would be helpful to people who can plan their ISP along with the break so that they get more days around it.
Yes, and so I think that's the feedback we've been receiving from families. And so when you do receive the survey from me regarding short-term ISP, I would strongly suggest you provide that feedback for us.
Yeah, I mean, we will do that, but the issue is with the current year. I mean, I see many people are facing the same challenge for the current year itself.
Yes, and so the policy or the updated to our board regulation was again ensuring and encouraging our students and families to prioritize students being physically here. As we know, students learn best when they're in the classroom with their peers and with their teachers. And as DA Shane had mentioned earlier, that we encourage families to plan family vacation time during the days that the students are not in session. And students are only in school for 180 school days each year.
Now, even we encourage them to be in school every day, but like there are situations where we have to travel, and those travels are not like on our wish. It's not a holiday or vacation we are going that we can see accordingly. There are situations at home country which we have to attend. It could be some family thing, some emergency thing. It could be anything, like, but which is not in our hands to decide, okay, it should happen those days only.
Yes, so I think when it comes to family emergencies or unexpected situations, that's when, again, you should connect with your school principal or assistant principal, and they could further assist in those situations.
Okay, one last thing. So if there's a good attendance record, no tardy at all, zero absence, can such cases be considered for an exception to this? I mean, allowing to attach the school break?
So for this current year, there are no exceptions to our updated board regulation policy around short-term ISP.
Okay. So what are the consequences? Like if suppose we have to anyways go for this and we extend those 14 days. So what are the consequences like?
So if families are, again, we just want to prioritize if the short-term ISP was denied and you do choose to go and your child is not present, and they will be marked as unexcused absences. Any student with 3 or more unexcused absences is considered truant. 6 or more is considered habitually truant. And at that point, the school site can move you towards a district level student attendance review board meeting.
Okay, yeah, I heard that. Okay. So you mean to say 6 days of such absence or 6 occurrences of such absence?
Yes, any student in a given school year with 6 or more unexcused absences is considered habitually truant.
Okay, got it. Sure, thank you.
So that hand is that. Makara, do you have another question? I'm gonna
So I'm just trying to understand for the habitually truant. Sorry, I must have missed that part. What do you define the habitually truant situation?
So the Ed Code, California Ed Code, lays out when a student is considered truant, and then when a student is considered habitually truant. What happens is after 3 unexcused absences, the school or the district will send out a letter notifying you that your child is considered truant under the law. They'll likely offer to have a meeting with you and give you some other resources. After that letter, your child continues to accrue unexcused absences and accrues 3 more of them, so that now your child has 6 unexcused absences. They would be considered habitually truant according to California Education Code. And the child and your family would be asked to go to a school attendance review board meeting with the district. If after that school attendance review board meeting, the student continued to be truant, that's when it's the possibility that the school would refer the case to me happens.
Oh, I see. Okay. So even in this situation where this tardy has happened and that's an unexcused absence, is it?
So it would need to be a tardy of 30 minutes or more. So let's just say for easy math, if school starts at 8 a.m., it would have to be the child showed up at 8:30 or 8:31. That would count as one truancy. It would have to be, for a tardy, it would have to be 30 minutes or more in order to be counted as a truancy. And again, 3 of those is what renders the student truant. 6 total is what renders them habitually truant.
Okay. So like after 30 minutes, they are marked as absent? Is that what you're trying to like?
No, it's dependent on what time the child comes to school. So if they are late by 30 or more minutes, then that is considered a truancy. If conversely they're late by 10 minutes, they are late, but it is not a truant tardy.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
And then, Mr. Chang, did you have another question?
Yes. So I don't remember exactly, but I have a meeting, face-to-face meeting with vice principal from the Thomas Russell. I believe it was the end of last semester. And at the time, our plan was to take early vacation before the end of the semester, not this Thanksgiving days. And at that time, I talked to her, and the reason is that, okay, as we know, like a week prior to the vacation, even we send the kids to school, they're still watching the videos and doing nothing. So we say, why don't we just take them earlier to the home country, visit their families and the traveling, because traveling and visiting family, I think is as important as studying school. And so the answer we got was no. Can you explain the reason behind this? Even the kids are just go to school watching the videos and doing nothing. Why can we take kids out of the school earlier?
I think when it comes to the end of the semester, especially for our middle school students and our high school students, it is when they're also taking their finals, especially for our high school students and our secondary. So I do apologize if that is the perspective you have of the final days leading up to a semester end. That is a concern I could definitely bring back up to the site administration. But as shared, it is important for students to finish out each semester to ensure that they are completing the work needed to ensure that their grades can be posted. In regards to what the assistant principal shared with you last year prior to going on summer break, the policy was being crafted already. And so she was actually letting you know ahead of time before it became public in our handbook for the 23-24 school year that update to our board regulation was going to happen. But in regards to your concern around students not doing academic work, that is something definitely I could bring back to the site administration.
Please.
Makara, do you have another question?
No, sorry, I'm done.
And I think Nanjundaswa, I'm gonna unmute you.
No, sorry, I didn't have any questions. Sorry. I did not
Okay.
raise my hand.
I just wanted to make sure. I still see the hands up, so I wasn't sure of another question.
No, no.
Okay, and then Manish, did you have another question?
Yes, so if I heard it correctly, you guys said like this rule is applicable from kinder to 8th. How about TK, the transition kinder kids? Does this apply to them as well? The independent study program?
Yes, so the short-term ISP program pertains to all students in public school. So that goes TK through 12th grade.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
And then, sorry, I think I have 2 more hands. I just have to find Shalini Prasad.
Hi, so I have a question related to independent study. Can I club that with June timeframe, June vacation time? So let's say a school ends on 6th of June. Can I take 14 days independent study before that, and then the school year ends after that?
So again, the same information being shared would apply. So we are not actually, our board policy says that short-term ISP will not be granted within the first 10 days of school and the last 10 days of school. And so requesting it at the end of the school year, it will also be denied. If families choose to take it, the same thing will occur. Those absences will be marked as unexcused absences. And as we've shared, the process that would happen due to those unexcused absences would then still be noted on your child's attendance record.
I mean, what's the basis of that? It just seems draconian, right? Like, what's the rationale behind not clubbing the independent study with the vacations, right? It just seems helpful for the parents, right? We are not. The child are still studying for 14 days. Their vacation started, and then we are just taking the vacation, right? So there's no rationale for not clubbing it. I just don't. Yeah. What was the thought process behind it?
So unfortunately, I can't share that. I was not part of the process. But again, it was intentional, and we did collect feedback at that time. Again, wanting to have our students and families prioritize the 180 days of learning that takes place annually. But as shared this year, we will be collecting feedback from families again. So please make sure that you provide that feedback for us when you get the survey from me.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
I think we have, looking for any more raised hands. Pratsraj, I'm going to unmute you.
Hello?
Yes.
So according to the previous question from the parent that he was asking, we can provide you the feedback and you can send us a survey. So when should we expect a survey email from you?
Yeah, so I hope to get one out before, I will get one out before December break, and then another one late January, February. So it'll go out twice. I'm tasked with bringing the information to the school board in the month of March.
I see. So is that every single parent will receive that survey?
Yes, I send out, just like this webinar, I will send it out via Parent Square to all students in the district, all families.
Got it. Thank you.
Of course. Sorry, and Pratsraj, oh, there. I think you're unmuted now. Hi, can you hear us? If you're speaking, we don't hear you. Oh. Again, Pratsraj, I just unmuted you. So you're unmuted, but if you're speaking, we don't hear you. It might be your audio.
Are you talking about me?
No,
I already asked the question.
Oh no,
okay.
Pratsraj, yeah.
No, it's not me.
Okay. Then I'll move down to Olivia Lazama. I'm going to unmute you. Olivia?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So I appreciate all the information that you guys shared tonight. And I just have a concern because when we received the invitation, it was in different languages, but like you guys are talking only in English. And there's a lot of Hispanic families and other families like that they don't speak English as a first language. And I think that's important that you guys work on something to communicate this information to the other families, because it's not like a lot of the percentage of the kids that have been with problems and absences are Hispanic. And if their parents don't know this information, like they're not going to be able to do any changes. That's my concern.
Thank you, Ms. Lazama. I saw your comment in the Q&A. So since DA Shane is sharing the presentation with us, we can do language-specific webinars with myself and our liaisons, and it will be specifically sent out to our Spanish-speaking families as well as a separate one for our Vietnamese families.
Okay, thank you. Because I am registered as a Hispanic parent, and I have never received any of this information in Spanish. I'm lucky to speak English. I'm lucky to understand the language, but I know a lot of other parents that they don't have this information. And unless it doesn't come from like the school or any like site that it's trustable for them, they're not going to believe it.
So we can definitely do that. And also our liaisons are able to also support individual school sites by request as well. And so we can do by school site as well. So we will share this information with all the school administrators.
Thank you.
Yes. And then Pratraj, you have your hand up, so I'm going to unmute you again. That one's not working. Oh, you put it, sorry, you put it in the chat. What's the policy for sick days? So students who are sick, if your child is not feeling well, is unable to come to school, then we ask that families communicate with the school and let them know. But as DA Shane shared earlier, we also want to be mindful because calling in sick in a child missing 2 days per month, for the whole entire school year, they would miss almost 18 days of school, which would then make them chronically absent. And so again, unless your child is truly sick and is not able to go to school, you know, we encourage you to send your child to school if they feel good enough to do so. And then Makara.
Yeah. So one more last thing. So towards the end of the school year, so if we are like planning for a vacation and we want to use like independent study, is that going to be denied like for 5 days or more than 5 days?
Yes, our board regulation states that for short-term ISP, it will not be granted within the first 10 days of a school year, the last 10 days of the school year. During state testing, and so that's the other thing, students in grades 3 through 8 and grade 11 in high school, they take state assessments. And so during that time, and it varies from site to site, so you'd have to check in with your individual child's school. Short-term ISP will also not be granted during state assessment windows. And then the last one that was added this year was that short-term ISP will not be granted when attached to school breaks 5 days or more.
Okay, sure. All right, yeah, that's it for now. Thank you.
Looks like, oh, we have another question, Sagar Gala.
Yes, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so like thank you for all the information today. So I had a question about, let's say we plan a vacation during Christmas break and our vacation extends by 1 or 2 days. Like I think so is it like, what does that 1 or 2 days of absence count as? Like, can we inform the school in advance saying that, hey, will be late by 2 days, since we cannot club the ISP after the break or something like that? So how to plan that out then?
I would say there's if your child does not return based upon the let me back up. If your school site has approved a short-term ISP because it falls within the parameters and you have requested from the school within the minimum of 10 days prior to departure, and it's granted, the families are expected to have your child return the day per the contract. If your child does not return the day as indicated on the contract, we will ask, you will then be considered an unexcused absence, and all of your short-term ISP that was approved will turn into unexcused absences as well.
Okay, I meant like it's just 2 days after the vacation, like still it will be counted as an unexcused absence?
So just in general, if you're not requesting a short-term ISP, but you're coming back from a break, but your child is not there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, when a child is not present in any given school day, the front office staff will call out and inquire why your child is out. At that point, you will provide the reason to your school site, and from there, the school site will code it according to your response.
Fair enough. Okay. Thank you so much.
All right. Did we get the hand raise? It looks like we did. Okay, I had dropped into the chat. Again, one thing that we had shared was that for attending tonight, families have an opportunity to win one of 2 $100 gift cards. And so if you'd like to be eligible for that, I just dropped it into the chat. You have to open up your chat on your Zoom and then fill out the information in that Google form that I just sent. It will close by 5 minutes after we end this webinar. So again, if you have multiple children, you only have to list one child because it's one chance per family, in which I will take all of the Google form responses and then randomly choose 2 families. And then I will notify the 2 families in the email that I will send out, which will have the slide presentation, the videos that DA Shane shared today, as well as the information for parent workshop as well. Okay. We thank everyone tonight. Thank you especially to DA Shane. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and providing such a wealth of knowledge for our families here in Milpitas. If you have any additional questions, I believe you see my email in the Parent Square message. You're more than welcome to reach out to me, Yvonne Sugimura, and I could further support any questions that you have around attendance, and or you can reach out to your child's principal as well. We appreciate all of you. I'm just going to drop the Google form one more time into the chat. If you filled it out, you're good to go. And then we will send all this out to all the registered families for this webinar. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your careful attention and time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Minan. Thank you, Raquel.
Thank you.